Today we're talking about some serious garbage on two wheels. You know, some bikes out there are absolute legends. But then there are these other bikes which are legendary for being complete trash. These are straight up 15 motorcycles that only stupid people buy. Every manufacturer drops a turd sometimes, but these are the ones that make actual riders cringe when they see some poor sucker who just wasted their money. We're counting down the absolute dumbest bike purchases you could possibly make. Number 15, Kawasaki Ninja 650. Kicking things off at number 15, we've got the Kawasaki Ninja 650. Now look, if you're brand new to riding and want something comfortable that won't kill you immediately, fine. But the problem isn't the bike itself. It's the idiots who buy this thing thinking they're getting some kind of track weapon. Here's the reality check. This is not a sports bike. Kawasaki just slapped some plastic on it, called it a Ninja, and suddenly every squid with a fresh license thinks they bought a race replica. It's got a weak-ass parallel twin making maybe 67 horsepower on a good day. The suspension's garbage for anything besides commuting. The ergonomics are basically a standard bike. The worst part is watching guys dump thousands into performance mods on these things. Full exhaust, power commander, all that crap. For what? It's still going to get smoked by any actual 600cc sport bike. You can't turn a cow into a racehorse no matter how much money you throw at it. Number 14, Yamaha R3. Next up is another bike that gets bought for all the wrong reasons, the Yamaha R3. Again, fantastic beginner bike. But every week we see some full-grown adult who's been riding for years buy one of these thinking they're getting a discount R6. But no, it's a 321cc twin that struggles to hit 110 miles per hour with the wind at your back going downhill. But these clowns still show up to sport bike group rides on them. They're out there covered in Monster Energy stickers, trying to hang with actual sport bikes. Then they're all surprised when they get left behind at the first straight. The sad thing is, we see guys trying to mod these into mini superbikes. Full of Krapovich exhaust, $500 rear sets, fancy adjustable levers, none of that crap is gonna help. It's still a beginner bike. If you're over 25 and buy an R3 for anything other than teaching your girlfriend to ride, you've made a serious mistake. Number 13, Royal Enfield Himalayan. Number 13 brings us to one of the biggest jokes in the adventure bike world, the Royal Enfield Himalayan. This thing looks like it should be crossing continents, but in reality, it can barely cross town without something breaking. The Himalayan's got a pathetic 411 cubic centimeter single, making a laughable 24 horsepower. You twist the throttle and just pray it'll eventually hit highway speed. And if by some miracle you get it to 70 miles per hour, the vibrations are so bad your vision literally blurs. The build quality is exactly what you'd expect for something this cheap. These things rust if you ride through morning dew. But the absolute funniest thing is watching some delusional owner try to convince you it's just as good as a BMW GS, but for way less money. No, dude, it's not even close. It's like comparing a Happy Meal toy to an actual car. We've seen these things break down on simple weekend trips, let alone actual adventures. If you want a real adventure bike but don't have the cash, just buy a used Japanese dual sport. At least you'll make it home. Number 12, Suzuki Hayabusa. Alright, now before you start typing angry comments, chill. The Hayabusa itself isn't the problem here. It's one of the best engineered bikes ever made. The problem is the absolute morons who buy them. You know exactly who we're talking about. The guy who's been riding for 6 months, has zero skill, but thinks he needs 1300cc missile between his legs. Dude shows up to the dealership talking about, "I need something fast, bro," and somehow leaves with a bike that does 200 miles per hour. Then what happens? They immediately ruin it. Stretch swing arms so it's completely unusable in corners. Ridiculous 300mm rear tire. Hideous chrome everything. Also, they can do straight line pulls on the highway and post blurry iPhone videos captioned, "Too fast for you." These aren't riders, they're collectors of hospital bills. They don't understand that the Hayabusa was designed as a high-speed sport tour. It's meant for covering huge distances at serious speed, not for some insecure man-child to prove he's got the biggest, baddest bike at the bar parking lot. The saddest part is they never learn to actually ride these things properly. The Hayabusa can handle surprisingly well for its size, but these guys never take a corner at more than parking lot speeds. If you're buying a Busa as a dick extension, just save everyone the trouble and buy a Corvette instead. Number 11, BMW R 1200C. Coming in at number 11, we've got one of BMW's biggest embarrassments, the R 1200C. BMW saw all the money Harley was making and thought, hey, we could build a cruiser too. Except they couldn't. This abomination looks like a cruiser designed by someone who's only seen pictures of cruisers. Everything about it is wrong. They stuck with their boxer engine, which sticks out so far on the sides you can't even lane split. For a 1200cc bike, the power is pathetic. Just 61 sad little horsepower. A Sportster 883 will smoke this thing, and that's saying something. But the worst part? BMW had the nerve to charge premium prices for it. You could get a fully loaded Harley for less than these things cost new. Number 10. Ducati 749. All right, moving on to number 10, we've got the Ducati 749. This one's for all those wannabe Ducati owners who can't afford a real one. You know who you are. The 749 was supposed to be the affordable Ducati, the little brother to the awesome 999. But man, what a letdown. The 748 before it was already pushing it, but at least that thing had some character. The 749 was just sad. Here's the real problem with the 749. It somehow managed to combine all the worst parts of owning a Ducati with none of the good parts. Want to guess what 749 owners get? All the insane maintenance costs, all the reliability issues, all the expensive parts, but none of the performance or prestige. The engine makes around 100 horsepower, which sounds decent until you actually ride the thing. It's sluggish as hell. The power delivery feels like it's constantly holding back, like there's a bungee cord attached to the bike. Then there's the maintenance. Holy crap, the maintenance. 1,500 valve adjustments that need to be done every 7,500 miles. If anything breaks, good luck finding parts that don't cost more than the bike is worth. Even hardcore Ducati fanboys don't defend this thing. It was basically an afterthought in their lineup. And today, you can pick these up for dirt cheap, which might sound like a bargain, but there's a reason nobody wants them. You're not getting a deal, you're getting a money pit with the Ducati badge. Want a real Italian sport bike experience? Save up for a proper Ducati? Want something reliable and affordable? Buy Japanese. The 749 is the worst of both worlds. Number 9, MV Agusta F4. Next up at number 9, we've got the MV Agusta F4. This thing is basically a supermodel with an STD. It looks absolutely stunning, but it'll ruin your life if you spend too much time with it. Guys see that gorgeous Italian styling and think they're getting some kind of exotic masterpiece. What they're actually getting is a maintenance nightmare that'll empty their bank accounts faster than an ex-wife. Let's start with reliability, and we're using that term extremely loosely here. MV Agusta's electronics are so bad, it's like they were designed by a drunk toddler. The charging system is a joke. And the engine? These things grenade themselves for fun. Hope you've got a backup bike because this one's going to spend more time in the shop than on the road. And don't even think about using it as an actual motorcycle. The riding position is basically torture. The clip-ons are so low they're practically touching the front tire. The seat feels like it's made of concrete. The heat from the engine will cook your legs like rotisserie chicken. Ride for more than 20 minutes, and you'll need a chiropractor, a massage therapist, and probably a therapist too. Number 8, Yamaha Niken. This might be the weirdest bike on this list. The Yamaha Niken. You know, that bizarre three-wheeled thing. God, we don't even know what to call it. Yamaha decided that what motorcyclists really wanted was an extra wheel up front. Because, you know, that's what keeps people from buying bikes, not enough wheels. The marketing claimed it would give you unparalleled cornering confidence. What it actually gives you is confused looks at stoplights and a much lighter wallet. The Niken's got a decent MT-09 engine, making about 115 horsepower, but then they went and added about 200 pounds of extra garbage to it. The thing weighs almost 600 pounds. It's like they strapped an anvil to an MT-09 and called it innovation. The worst part is how it actually rides. That front end feels completely disconnected from the road. It's like steering through mud, but the absolute cherry on top is the price. Yamaha charged around $16,000 for this abomination. You could buy a proper leader bike with top-shelf components for less than the cost of this three-wheeled identity crisis. Number 7, Honda NM4. At number 7, we've got one of Honda's biggest blunders, the Honda NM4. Or, as we like to call it, the Batman scooter that nobody asked for. This is what happens when Honda's designers spend too much time watching anime and not enough time talking to actual motorcyclists. They wanted to make some futuristic sci-fi-inspired cruiser. What they actually made was a bloated plastic-covered scooter that costs as much as a real motorcycle. Let's talk about what this thing actually is. It's powered by a 670 cubic centimeter parallel twin, making a pathetic 47 horsepower. That's barely enough to get out of its own way. And like a scooter, it's got a DCT automatic transmission. No clutch, no gears, just twist and go. Then there's the looks. If you're really into Akira or want to cosplay as Batman on your commute, maybe you think this thing looks cool. But to everyone else, you look like a complete tool. It's the motorcycle equivalent of those weird toe shoes. But the real punchline is the price. Honda had the nerve to charge $11,000 for this thing. For that money, you could get a real Honda Cruiser, or a sport bike, or an adventure bike, or pretty much anything else that isn't an oversized scooter with an identity crisis. Even the most die-hard Honda fanboys don't defend the NM4. It's the bike equivalent of that weird phase you went through in high school that makes you cringe when Facebook Memories brings it up. Number 6. BMW C1. Sliding into the number 6 spot, we've got what might be the dumbest concept ever put into production, the BMW C1. You know, that weird scooter with a roof. Yeah, BMW really thought that was a good idea. Back in 2000, BMW had this brilliant revelation. What if we take a scooter, add a roof, some seat belts, and make it twice as heavy and 3 times as expensive? It's like they were trying to create the worst of both worlds, all the danger and inconvenience of a motorcycle with all the traffic problems of a car. The C1 had a tiny 125 cubic centimeters or 175 cubic centimeters engine, making a laughable 15 to 18 horsepower, but then they went and made it weigh almost 500 pounds. That's heavier than some full-size motorcycles. The result? A vehicle that could barely hit 65 miles per hour downhill with a tailwind. And let's talk about that roof. The whole point was that in some European countries, you supposedly didn't have to wear a helmet on this thing, but guess what? Most places still required helmets anyway, so you ended up with this weird claustrophobic cage around your head and a helmet. Genius. The best part about the C1 was watching people try to park it. It was too big for motorcycle spots, but didn't fit in car spots either. And if you needed to push it, good luck. It was so heavy and awkward that even moving it around was a workout. BMW thankfully killed this monstrosity in 2002, but not before about 12,000 suckers bought one. If you see one for sale today, just know that the previous owner has been trying to unload this embarrassment for years and will probably hug you if you take it off their hands. Number 5. Big Dog K9. All right, as we get into the top 5, let's talk about big dog motorcycles and the K9. This thing is the two-wheeled equivalent of a midlife crisis combined with terrible financial decisions. Big Dog tried to cash in on the chopper craze after those TV shows made everyone think they needed a stretched-out garage ornament. The K9 is what happens when someone wants a custom chopper but doesn't want to wait for a real one. The 1800 CCS and SV twin sounds impressive until you live with it. These things vibrate so badly they'll loosen your fillings. They leak more oil than a punctured tanker and run hotter than Satan's armpit in July. The handling is even worse. With that ridiculous 300mm rear tire and raked out front end, turning this thing is like steering a cruise ship with a pool noodle. The ergonomics are pure torture, with a seat that's basically leather stretched over a brick. The price for this rolling headache? Over $30,000 when new. That's right, 30 grand for something that's worse in every way than bikes, costing half as much. Now, you couldn't give these things away. Number 4. Harley-Davidson Street 750/500. This was Harley's embarrassing attempt to lure younger riders, the Street 500 and 750, or as actual Harley riders call them, those things we don't talk about. These are Harleys in name only. The engines are a joke, somehow both gutless and rough. None of that torque that makes a Harley fun. You twist the throttle and just sort of eventually move forward. The build quality is deliberately terrible. Everything feels cheap, from the dollar store switchgear to the paint thinner than water. The suspension is so basic, it might as well be a pogo stick. The worst part is the sound. Harleys are supposed to have that distinctive rumble. The Street Series sounds like a wet fart in a metal bucket. It's embarrassing. And the resale value? These things depreciate like they're racing to zero. Buy one new for $7,500, and 2 years later, you'll be begging someone to take it for $3,000. Number 3. Harley-Davidson Livewire. At number 3, we've got another Harley mistake, but this one's stupidly expensive, the Livewire. This is what happens when a 100-year-old company misunderstands both their customers and the future. The range is pathetic for a premium electric bike. Harley claimed about 146 miles in the city. Reality, maybe 80 to 100 miles if you're lucky. Hit the highway and watch that range plummet. Charging is another nightmare. Unless you find a DC fast charger, you're looking at hours of downtime. Nothing says fun motorcycle adventure like sitting in a McDonald's for 3 hours waiting for your bike to charge. The bike flopped so hard that Harley had to spin Livewire off into its own brand just to save face. Number 2, Boss Hoss V8. The Boss Hoss V8 isn't a motorcycle, it's a midlife crisis on 2 wheels. This monstrosity has a 6.2-liter V8 making around 445 horsepower. That's unusable, uncontrollable power, and it weighs 1,100 pounds. This motorcycle weighs more than some cars. The brakes are a cruel joke, a single disc in the rear and a slightly bigger one up front. You don't brake so much as plan your stops half a mile ahead and pray. Fuel economy? This thing guzzles gas like it's going out of style. You can watch the fuel gauge drop in real time. All this stupidity cost $77,000. For that money, you could buy a proper motorcycle and a Corvette with the same engine, and still have cash left over. Number 1, Honda DN1. And finally, the absolute worst motorcycle only the dumbest people would buy. The Honda DN1, the bike nobody asked for. The DN1 is Honda's greatest failure. It's a confused collection of parts that don't belong together. Honda tried to combine a scooter, a cruiser, and a sport bike into one and created a mess that excels at nothing. The 680cc V-twin makes around 60 horsepower, which isn't terrible. But then Honda paired it with a CVT automatic transmission, like a scooter. So you twist the throttle, and eventually, when it feels like it, the bike accelerates. The riding experience is bizarre. Too heavy to be nimble, not comfortable enough to be a cruiser. Riders reported hesitation at low speeds and unpredictable handling. Sounds fun, right? The DN1 was such a flop that Honda killed it after just 2 years. It's not just a bad motorcycle. It's a monument to corporate groupthink gone horribly wrong. It's what happens when marketers, not motorcyclists, design a bike. So there you have it, the 15 motorcycles that only stupid people would buy. Some earned their bad reputation through terrible design, others through ridiculous pricing, and some through sheer uselessness. What do you think? Did we nail it, or did we miss some rolling disaster that deserves to be on this list? Maybe you own one of these and want to defend your terrible life choices? Drop a comment below. If you enjoyed watching us trash these bikes, hit that like button and subscribe. We've got plenty more motorcycle content coming your way.